Admiral Kai pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation window. Far below, Earth looked peaceful and blue. But he knew better. Hidden beneath that calm surface were secrets that could shake the entire galaxy. "Sir, the alien ship is here again," said Lieutenant Hana. Her voice was steady, but Kai could hear the tension underneath. They had practiced this dance many times before. The massive alien vessel moved slowly toward their space station. It was 3 times bigger than anything humans were supposed to have. Its metal skin gleamed with strange lights that hurt to look at directly. Inside that ship were beings who thought they owned the universe. "Let them come," Kai said quietly. "Show them to the museum level. The same old tricks." Hana nodded and walked away. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. Everything had to look normal. Everything had to seem weak and primitive. 20 minutes later, the aliens arrived. They were tall and thin, with blue skin that looked like ice. Their leader had 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the dark. He spoke through a machine that turned his words into human language. "We are here to inspect your weapons again," the alien said. His voice sounded bored, like he was talking to children. "The Galactic Council wants to make sure you are not building anything dangerous." Kai put on his best confused face. "Of course, honored guest. We only have simple things to show you. Please follow me." They walked through corridors that looked old and dirty on purpose. The lights flickered sometimes. The walls had scratches and dents that were carefully placed there. Everything was designed to make the aliens think humans were barely surviving in space. In the weapons storage room, Kai showed them fusion rockets that were actually 50 years old. He explained how they worked with fake excitement. Like these, ancient weapons were the best humanity could build. The aliens looked at each other and made notes on their glowing tablets. "These are very basic," one alien said to another. "Even the Gorthak have better weapons, and they still use stone tools." On their home planet, Kai pretended not to understand their language, but he spoke 12 alien tongues fluently. Every human in the space program did. They had been learning and listening for decades while the aliens thought they were too stupid to understand. After the aliens left, Kai took an elevator down to the real levels. These floors did not appear on any map the aliens had ever seen. Here, the corridors were bright and clean. The technology here was so advanced, it would make the aliens cry with fear. "Doctor." Minho looked up from his work when Kai entered the laboratory. Around him, machines hummed with power that could tear holes in space itself. On his desk were plans for weapons that could destroy entire star systems. "How did the inspection go?" Minho asked. "Same as always," Kai replied. "They think we are still trying to figure out how to make our rockets go faster." Engineer Yuna laughed from her workstation. "If they only knew we can fold space and travel anywhere in the galaxy in minutes." "That is the point," Kai said. "Let them think we are children playing with fire. Meanwhile, we watch everything they do. We learn from their mistakes. We build things they cannot even imagine." The truth was simple but powerful. Humans had discovered alien signals 40 years ago. Instead of announcing themselves like fools, they had chosen to stay hidden. They watched alien societies rise and fall. They saw how the strong crushed the weak in the galaxy. They learned that showing your true strength too early was the fastest way to die. So humanity had built a lie. They made themselves look weak and helpless. They let the aliens find them and study them. They acted grateful for the smallest scraps of technology while secretly building fleets that could conquer worlds. The Galactic Council had classified humanity as a Tier 7 species. That meant they were considered barely intelligent animals. Other species laughed when humans were mentioned in council meetings. Some even suggested humans should be used as slaves or food. Kai walked to another window that showed the hidden side of the moon. There, massive ships sat in secret hangars. Each one was larger than the biggest alien vessel. Their weapons could cut through any shield ever made. Their engines could outrun anything in known space. "The Draknari delegation is filing their report now," Hana said over the communication system. "They recommend keeping us restricted to our own solar system for at least another century." "Perfect," Kai said. Let them think they have us trapped here like animals in a cage. They have no idea they are the ones being watched. President Nari called from Earth a few minutes later. Her face appeared on the main screen, looking serious and tired. The Galactic Council voted today, she said. We are officially classified as harmless primitives. No rights, no protection, no future beyond this system. Kai smiled. Excellent news, Madam President. How long until we reveal the truth? Soon, she replied. Very soon. The galaxy is about to learn that underestimating humanity was their biggest mistake. The stars outside looked cold and distant. But Kai knew that soon, human ships would travel between them freely. The galaxy would tremble when they learned what humanity had been hiding all these years. Captain Junho stared at the emergency message on his screen. The words were simple, but they made his blood run cold. Kepler 442b silent. No survivors found. Hegemony ships detected in system. He closed his eyes and remembered the Velen people. They were small and gentle, with silver skin that changed, colors when they felt happy or sad. They loved music and poetry. When humans first met them in secret, the Velen had shared their beautiful songs about distant stars and peaceful dreams. Now they were all dead. Sir, we have more reports coming in, said Communications Officer Suji. Her hands shook as she read from her tablet. 3 more worlds have gone quiet in the past week, all in hegemony space. Junho walked to the window of his hidden observation ship. Outside, space looked empty and black. But he knew hegemony warships were moving through the darkness like hungry wolves. They killed everything in their path. The hegemony was an empire built on fear. They believed only the strong deserved to live. Weak species were either made into slaves or turned into food. They had been spreading across the galaxy for 200 years, leaving empty worlds behind them. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command, Junho ordered. Minutes later, the face of Commander Yunji appeared on his screen. She looked tired and angry. Behind her, he could see other officers running back and forth with urgent reports. The Galactic Council met today, Yunji said without greeting. They voted to do nothing about the hegemony attacks. Again. What about the peace treaty? Junho asked. Worthless paper. The council says they cannot risk war with such a powerful enemy. They would rather sacrifice small worlds than fight. Junho felt sick. The Galactic Council was supposed to protect all species. But when real danger came, they only cared about saving themselves. The weak were abandoned while the strong made deals with monsters. There is more bad news, Yunji continued. The hegemony has declared their next target. Junho already knew the answer, but he had to ask. Which world? Earth. The words hit him, like a physical blow. He gripped his chair to stay standing. When? 1 month. They announced it publicly. Called us an amusing warm-up exercise before bigger conquests. Their war fleet is already moving toward our system. On Earth, President Nari sat in her underground command center. Around her, the walls were covered with screens showing hegemony ship movements. Red dots marked their progress toward human space. Each dot represented death and destruction. How many ships are they sending? She asked General Hyun. 43 vessels. Hyun replied. Mostly destroyers and cruisers. No dreadnoughts. They are not even taking us seriously, said Defense Minister Yaren. 43 ships to conquer an entire star system. They think we will surrender without a fight. President Nari laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Perfect. Let them come with their small fleet and big confidence. She activated the hidden communication network that connected every secret human base in the galaxy. Faces appeared, on screens around the room. Admiral Kai from Luna Station, Captain Day from the Titan shipyards, Commander Rena from the Mars Research Facility, dozens of others who had spent years preparing for this moment. The time for hiding is over, President, Nari announced. The galaxy has chosen to abandon us. The hegemony believes we are helpless prey. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Admiral Kai nodded grimly. All hidden fleets are ready, Madam President. We have been waiting for this day. The hegemony thinks 43 ships can conquer us, she continued. Let them discover. What happens when they attack a species that has been watching and learning for 40 years? General Hyun pulled up tactical displays. Their fleet will arrive in 28 days. They expect to find primitive defenses and panicking humans. Instead, they will find the galaxy's most advanced military waiting for them, President Nari said. We will show them what real strength looks like. Captain Junho received his new orders an hour later. Return to Earth immediately. Prepare for full revelation of human capabilities. The masquerade was ending. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Junho thought about the Velen and their beautiful songs. The hegemony had silenced those voices forever. They thought they could do the same to humanity. They were about to learn their mistake. Back on Earth, Engineer Yuna worked frantically in her laboratory. Around her, weapons that could crack planets hummed with contained power. Ship designs that broke every known law of physics were being turned into reality. How long until the fleet is ready? President Nari asked during her inspection. Everything will be operational in 2 weeks, Yuna replied. The hegemony has never seen technology like this. Neither has the galaxy. President Nari nodded. Good. When they arrive expecting to find frightened primitives, we will show them what humanity really is. The countdown had begun. In 28 days, the galaxy would witness the end of one era and the beginning of another. The hegemony thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to discover they had cornered a dragon. The hegemony war fleet dropped out of hyperspace like hungry sharks smelling blood. 43 massive ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that had destroyed 1,000 worlds. Fleet Commander Day sat quietly, in his captain's chair on the bridge of the Silent Thunder. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with calm precision. They had been waiting for this moment for 28 days. Enemy fleet detected, reported Tactical Officer Jinwoo. 43 vessels. They are moving toward Earth in standard attack formation. Any communication attempts? Day asked. Yes, sir. They are demanding immediate surrender. They say resistance is pointless. Day smiled coldly. How thoughtful of them to announce themselves. All ships prepare for Protocol 7. Across the solar system, the order was received by hundreds of human vessels. Ships that had been hiding in empty space, disguised as asteroids and space debris, began to wake up. Their crews had been waiting patiently for this moment. The hegemony fleet moved closer to Earth. Their commander, a cruel alien named Vorthak, studied his tactical screens with bored confidence. His sensors showed only a few primitive human ships, defending their pathetic world. This will be easier than expected, Vorthak told his officers. These humans have no real defenses. We will finish this before lunch. He activated his communication system to address the human fleet. Primitive creatures of Earth, you will surrender now or be destroyed. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your defenses are worthless against hegemony power. On the bridge of the Silent Thunder, Day listened to the aliens' threats with amusement. Reply to their message, he told his communications officer. What should I tell them, sir? Tell them we decline their generous offer. The hegemony commander received the human response and laughed. Fools, all ships, open fire. Show these primitives what real power looks like. 43 alien ships fired their plasma cannons at once. Bright beams of deadly energy raced toward the human fleet. The weapons had enough power to melt entire cities. Captain Suna watched from her stealth frigate as the alien weapons struck human ships. She had seen these plasma cannons destroy entire worlds, but when the energy beams hit human shields, something impossible happened. The weapons simply vanished. Sir, reported her tactical officer with barely controlled excitement. The enemy fire has been completely absorbed by our defensive systems. No damage to any human vessel. On the hegemony flagship, chaos erupted. Officers ran between stations, checking their instruments and shouting in confusion. Impossible, Vorthak screamed. Our weapons are the most powerful in the galaxy. Nothing can stop them. Sir, his weapons officer reported with a shaking voice. Our plasma cannons had no effect. The human ships show no damage at all. Vorthak stared at his screens in disbelief. Fire again, use maximum power. The second volley was twice as strong as the first. Every weapon on every hegemony ship fired at once. The combined firepower could have cracked a moon in half. This time, the human ships did something different. Instead of just absorbing the energy, they collected it and sent it back. Plasma beams that had been fired by hegemony ships returned to them with double the power. Alien vessels that had seemed invincible moments before exploded like toys. In seconds, half the hegemony fleet was destroyed by their own weapons. All ships, Day announced calmly, drop masquerade protocols. Show them what we really are. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to come alive. Thousands of human ships materialized from nothing. They had been there all along, hidden by technology the galaxy had never seen. Ships larger than space stations appeared near Jupiter. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids revealed themselves around Mars. Near Earth's moon, a dreadnought the size of a small city uncloaked and turned its weapons toward the enemy. The remaining hegemony ships tried to run, but it was too late. Human vessels moved faster than anything in known space. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before return fire could reach them. This is impossible, Vorthak whispered as his flagship shuddered under attack from weapons he could not even see. Our intelligence said they were primitives, Stone Age savages with primitive rockets. His science officer looked up from his instruments with terror in his eyes. Sir, their technology is beyond anything in our databases. Their ships move through dimensions we did not know existed. Their weapons manipulate matter at the atomic level. Commander Rena led the final assault on the hegemony flagship. Her squadron of human fighters moved through the alien ship's defenses like they were not there. The aliens fired frantically at targets that seemed to exist in several places at once. Enemy flagship is requesting immediate surrender, reported Communications Officer Minsu. Denied, Rena replied without emotion. They wanted to see human capability. Now they will. The battle that was supposed to last hours ended in 17 minutes. Every hegemony ship was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human vessel had even been scratched. Fleet Commander Day opened a channel to broadcast across the galaxy. His message would reach every world, every species, every government that had dismissed humanity as harmless primitives. This is Fleet Commander Day of the Human Defense Force, he announced. For 40 years we have watched and learned while you called us weak. Today, that pretense ends. The galaxy will learn what happens when you threaten humanity and those we protect. The age of underestimating humans was over. News of the hegemony's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every species knew the impossible truth. The humans, those primitive creatures barely worth noticing, had wiped out the galaxy's most feared empire in less than 20 minutes. Commander Rena stood on the bridge of her flagship as it approached the hegemony's capital world. Below them, the planet that had been the center of galactic terror for 2 centuries looked surprisingly small and vulnerable. Sir, we are receiving surrender broadcasts from every military installation on the planet, reported Lieutenant Jihan. They are begging us not to attack. Rena looked at the tactical display. Orbital defense stations that had protected this world for generations were powering down their weapons. Ground-based missile systems were shutting off. Even the planetary shield generators were going offline. They know they cannot fight us, she said quietly. Good. That will make this easier. On the planet's surface, Hegemony General Krex watched his mighty empire crumble around him. Reports flooded in from every corner of hegemony space. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously at dozens of worlds. Ships that moved like ghosts, weapons that struck without warning, technology that made hegemony defenses look like children's toys. How is this possible? Krex demanded of his intelligence officers. Our spies watched these humans for decades. They had primitive rockets and basic fusion power. Sir, his aide replied with a trembling voice, it appears they were hiding their true capabilities. Everything we observed was an elaborate deception. Krex felt his world collapsing. The hegemony had built its power on the fear of other species. They had been the strongest, the most advanced, the most ruthless. Now they discovered they had been playing games while children watched and learned. Commander Rena's fleet moved through the hegemony capital system like a surgical strike. They disabled military targets with precise efficiency. Weapons platforms that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were destroyed in seconds. The mighty hegemony fleet, scattered across dozens of worlds, found themselves facing an enemy they could neither fight nor escape. "Sir, enemy stronghold on Vorthak Prime is requesting terms of surrender," reported Tactical Officer Huan. "Tell them we do not negotiate with slavers," Rena replied coldly. "They have 30 minutes to evacuate all civilian areas before we destroy their military installations." The message was clear. Humanity had not come to conquer. They had come to end the hegemony's reign of terror forever. Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council Station, panic spread through the chambers like a disease. Species that had dismissed humanity for decades now scrambled to understand what they had missed. Ambassador Siak walked calmly through corridors filled with frightened alien diplomats. He had been Earth's representative to the Council for 10 years, playing the role of a confused primitive begging for scraps of recognition. Now everything had changed. "Ambassador Siak," called the Althari representative, running to catch up with him. "Please, we need to speak with you immediately." Siak stopped and turned. The tall, blue-skinned alien who had once treated him like a pet now looked desperate and afraid. "What can I do for you?" Siak asked politely. "Your ships," the alien stammered. "How did you hide such technology? Our sensors should have detected advanced vessels years ago." Siak smiled slightly. "You saw what we wanted you to see. We learned early that survival meant letting others underestimate us." More alien diplomats gathered around them. These were the same beings who had laughed when humanity asked for basic rights, who had voted to restrict humans to their home system, who had called them barely intelligent animals. "But your technology," insisted the Corvan ambassador. "It defies everything we know about physics. Your ships move faster than our best sensors can track." "We had excellent teachers," Siak replied. "We watched your wars. We studied your mistakes. We learned from every species in the galaxy, while you assumed we were too primitive to understand." On the bridge of Admiral Taman's command ship, reports continued to pour in from across hegemony space. Every major military installation had been destroyed or captured. Hegemony leaders were fleeing in terror or surrendering unconditionally. "Sir, the last hegemony fleet has been eliminated," reported his communications officer. "Total casualties. 0 human ships lost. Enemy losses. Complete." Taman nodded grimly. "Send word to Earth Command. Operation Revelation is complete. The hegemony no longer exists as a military threat." Back on the Galactic Council Station, the emergency session was in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other in a dozen languages. The careful balance of power that had existed for centuries had been shattered in a single day. "Order. Order," demanded the council chairman. "We must discuss how to respond to this crisis." "Crisis?" Ambassador Sayok stood up slowly. "The galaxy's greatest threat has been eliminated. Worlds that lived in fear are now free. How is this a crisis?" "Because everything has changed," screamed the Draknari representative. "The balance of power is destroyed. Humanity has weapons that make us all obsolete." Siak looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and confusion. "You are afraid because you judged us by your own standards. You assumed we would become conquerors like the hegemony. But you never bothered to learn who we really are." The truth was spreading across the galaxy faster than any news network could carry it. Humanity had not revealed their power to conquer worlds. They had done it to protect those who could not protect themselves. The same species that had been dismissed as primitive animals had just saved the galaxy from its greatest threat. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of humanity had begun. 6 months after the hegemony's destruction, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy peace. President Nari stood before the newly reformed Galactic Assembly, looking out at representatives from 1,000 worlds. The old council chamber had been rebuilt, but everything else had changed. The Velen believed that art could heal wounded souls, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast hall. The Karathi thought science should serve life, not destroy it. The Minari explored space to make friends, not enemies. She paused, letting her words sink in. Many of the aliens in the audience looked uncomfortable. These were the same species they had once dismissed as weak and worthless. These gentle people were the first to welcome humanity when we secretly reached out across the stars, President Nari continued. While you debated whether we deserved basic rights, they offered us friendship. While you called us primitives, they shared their wisdom and culture. Ambassador Jihoon sat in the front row, watching as nervous alien diplomats shifted in their seats. 6 months ago, these same beings had treated him like a curious pet. Now they hung on every word from human representatives. The Althari ambassador raised one of his forearms. President Nari, we understand there were misunderstandings in the past, but surely we can move forward as equals now. President Nari's expression remained neutral. Equals. When the hegemony declared they would process Earth, your government voted to increase trade with them. You saw profit in our destruction. The blue-skinned alien's face darkened with shame. Around the chamber, other species looked away in embarrassment. The records of their votes were public now. Everyone knew who had chosen profit over principles. However, President Nari continued, we judge species not by their past mistakes, but by their willingness to learn from them. On Titan Command, Fleet Admiral Wu Jin coordinated the new defensive networks that protected 100 worlds. His screens showed human patrol fleets moving through space that had once belonged to the hegemony. But these were not ships of conquest. They were guardians. Sir, the Velen survivors on Kepler 442c are reporting successful resettlement. His aide reported. The agricultural domes are producing enough food, and the children are singing again. Wu Jin smiled. The Velen had been nearly extinct after the hegemony attack. Only a few thousand had survived in hidden colonies. Now, under human protection, they were rebuilding their world and their culture. What about the Karathi research station? He asked. Fully operational, sir. They have requested permission to share their latest discoveries about peaceful space travel with our scientists. Approved. The Karathi understand that knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. Back in the assembly chamber, the Draknari representative stood up nervously. His people had been among the most vocal critics of humanity, calling them barely evolved animals unfit for galactic society. President Nari, he began hesitantly, my government wishes to apologize for our past statements. We would like to request inclusion in your protective agreements. President Nari studied him for a long moment. Your species voted 3 times to strip humanity of basic rights. You called us a waste of oxygen and suggested we be used for medical experiments. The alien's ice blue skin turned pale. We were wrong. We see that now. Yes, you were wrong, she agreed. But being wrong is not unforgivable. What matters is what you do next. She gestured to a section of the chamber where several alien ambassadors sat with quiet dignity. The Minari never had powerful weapons or vast fleets. The Karathi chose science over warfare. The Velen believed in art and beauty over conquest. These species were dismissed by many of you as weak and worthless. Yet when humanity was threatened, they were the ones who sent us secret messages of support, she continued. They offered to share their knowledge and resources, even knowing it might anger the stronger powers. Ambassador Jihoon stood up to address the assembly. We have established a simple principle for this new age. Species are judged not by the size of their fleets or the power of their weapons, but by their character and their actions. He activated a holographic display showing trade routes and defensive pacts. Those who showed kindness during humanity's primitive years find themselves with powerful allies now. Those who chose cruelty and dismissal find themselves reconsidering their positions. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The galaxy's old power structure, based on military might and ruthless competition, was crumbling. In its place, humanity was building something different. Captain Junho, now promoted to Admiral, patrolled the former hegemony space with his fleet. Where once there had been slave camps and processing plants, new colonies were growing. Free species were reclaiming worlds their ancestors had lost centuries ago. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Althari government," his communications officer reported. "They are offering to open their trade networks to the liberated worlds." "Interesting," Junho replied. 6 months ago they wanted to buy hegemony slaves. Now they offer fair trade to the former victims. People change when the rules change, sir. President Nari concluded her address with words that would echo across the galaxy for generations. "We do not seek to rule the stars or build an empire. We seek only to ensure that never again will the strong prey upon the weak without consequence." The galaxy forgot that true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to protect. We have helped them remember this lesson. The age of humanity had truly begun, built not on fear but on hope.